Hey there, folks. You're listening to Inside the Man Cave here on the Movie Squad YouTube channel. We are not in a man cave. Gifford's on the side of the road reporting what the hell's going on in his street. Feehan is dealing with some dogs, Joey, and I'm just in my bedroom. Yeah,
Joey, I'm just missing the Lonely Man theme from the Incredible Hulk TV series as I'm walking along the road.
Yeah. I'm currently in an insane asylum, a.k.a. my home.
Oh man. So,
right.
We got a lot of interesting topics to talk about on this week's installment of Inside the Man Cave. Hopefully you guys listened to our hour and a half long of rambling from last week.
Right. So to continue on with our Boss Baby discussion.
Yes. So you gotta understand the character of Jimbo. No, we're not. That's not this kind of show. We'll save that. Feehan, you're more familiar with the story than I am. The first topic of discussion today: the NES Classic is being discontinued.
Right. So as you guys know, we mostly talk about movies on the show, but we are video gamers, mostly me.
Yes.
And one of the things that's been one of the hottest items of the holiday season for 2016 has been the NES Classic Edition, and basically an NES emulator supposed to cost $60, 30 classic games on it, and basically it was the hottest item of the holiday season, right up there with that wonderful toy, the Hatchimal, which was a thing.
That was a thing.
But unlike the Hatchimal, which I could go to ShopRite or I could go to Wegmans and find for $60. The NES Classic Edition, because Nintendo was Nintendo when Nintendo was the worst, has decided to cancel the NES Classic Edition to either... There are many rumors as to why they did this. The first reason is possibly to make room for more Nintendo Switch production, for the holiday season, so that people have more supply of the Nintendo Switch. Okay, Andrew just got hit by a car.
I'm reporting from the set of Fast 9.
Indeed. But yeah, another reason is that they might come up with a Super Nintendo Classic Edition, which is something that seems pretty likely. Mm-hmm. And basically, if you guys were not involved, Nintendo released it in very limited quantities. Stores were getting them by 3 a piece, 3.
Right.
And stores I went to a re-release of them at Toys R Us, 7:00 in the morning. There was a huge line of parents out there for the Hatchimal and for the NES Classic Edition. Of course, they tell me, "Oh, you're too late because you had to come there at 4 a.m. in the morning and get tickets to then get your NES Classic Edition."
Oof.
And I saw a parent who was getting a Hatchimal. She bought the ticket from another parent for $60. So that's on top of the $60 that it would normally cost, for $80 or something like that.
Wow.
So. Yeah, I can go into a lot more curse words and a lot more spewing, but it just pisses me off. That being said, I did manage to get my hands on one before this news broke, and I'm still waiting for it in the mail, so I will update you when I actually get my hands on it, and hopefully it's not just a piece of cardboard with NES Classic Edition written in Sharpie.
Actually, one of my coworkers was able to get their hands on an NES Classic. They had their brother, who lives in another state, found one randomly at a Target.
Go figure.
And they send it to him.
See, that's the thing. Is you can only really get this if you're lucky. I met someone at a GameStop who said that my sister works at a GameStop, and she let me go into work with her to get an NES Classic Edition, and then I bought it for her for Christmas, and she happened to buy another one for me for Christmas. So it's you can only really get it on the purest of luck.
Hate that Nintendo kind of manufactures their products like a toy company. That's what bugs me.
Yeah.
Is, you're never going to meet supply and demand that way.
Exactly. Bottom line, it's annoying. Maybe they'll re-release it, but it's honestly a big middle finger to their public who've really wanted this. And now they're going to go up and they're going to stay that ridiculous prices that people are charging them on eBay and Amazon, really annoying scalpers.
Yeah.
People are charging them thousands of dollars. They're going to charge hundreds of thousands even. But yeah, it's annoying, but that's Nintendo. Luckily, we never. Yeah, I was going to say, luckily, I'd never buy a Nintendo console, so.
Well, there's that. But on the brighter side of things, Steven Spielberg just confirmed John Williams' return to the Indiana Jones franchise with the release of Indiana Jones 5, coming out in 2019. John Williams will return to score this new movie, which has me very excited. We haven't heard too much news on the Indiana Jones front of things, and especially with this whole Disney owning Lucasfilm, it's crazy to think that this year Disney has owned Lucasfilm for 5 years.
Yeah, and we're just still talking about an Indiana Jones 5.
We've only had we're only getting our third Star Wars movies from them, and now we're still haven't had our Indiana Jones film, but we're getting that in 2019, July 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We know Spielberg and Harrison Ford are coming back, and we have John Williams returning to score, which is very exciting. I wonder if we'll get some new bits of music. Obviously, there's going to be some new bits, but I mean, like new iconic stuff in there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is also exciting is that we're getting a re-release of the Raiders of the Lost Ark vinyl next month. So they're ramping up on Indiana Jones stuff a little bit.
With John Williams coming back, obviously, I mean, he's kind of synonymous with Indiana Jones. His music is iconic. To me, with Indiana Jones 5, I feel like this might kind of be the last one with, the original people, to kind of like, pass the baton, so to speak. So, who knows? This might be the last one John Williams scores. So I'm happy that we'll at least have one more movie with him.
Yes, that's very true. And we're also getting John Williams to score Last Jedi, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. So now I'll know how to feel in these movies. I'll know how to feel emotionally.
There you go. So, in more Disney news, so we all know that there's going to be an Aladdin live-action remake. A lot of these live-action remakes have made a lot of money at the box office for Disney. Beauty and the Beast just crossed $1 billion. And now we're hearing that Disney is in early discussions with Will Smith to star as the genie in their live-action Aladdin film. And this is after Will Smith and Disney talks broke down about a potential character in their live-action Dumbo film.
What I'm most fascinated by is Disney's apparent interest in Will Smith for some reason.
Yes.
To me, the thing with Will Smith is I wouldn't personally cast him as the genie, but he does have that kind of charisma and energy. And I think, when Will Smith really tries, he can bring that warmth to it as well, so in that sense, I think like, okay, this isn't such a bad idea. At first, I wasn't sure what to think, but I've become much cooler with it, thinking about it. And I'm just interested to see if this actually like happens.
I think the Fresh Prince could do a pretty good genie impression. I mean, he could sing. He is charismatic. It's Will Smith. So, I feel like nobody will ever be able to replace the great Robin Williams as the genie. But, he could work. I feel like it's a good chance to change the genie in terms of the live-action remake, the way the Jungle Book movie changed things. Mm-hmm. Especially because, the reason the genie worked so well was because of Robin Williams' improv. It's, his comedy styling was so fast and frenetic, it just made the genie so likable and charismatic. With Will Smith, obviously, you're going to have to change some of that. I mean, he could still sing, but he's going to have to change in terms of his comedy. It's not going to be all jumping around and, making impressions and all that, because Will Smith can't really do impressions.
And that's the thing I feel like with Will Smith is, you have to look at it as, okay, Will Smith is going to do his own thing with the genie, and he's going to bring the same level of excitement, I think, to it as Robin Williams did, and, energy. But, it's not necessarily going to be a bad thing. I think because people's expectations are so low with this casting, I think he can only surprise us.
Has it really been that low? I mean, a
lot of people, Feehan, are iffy on Will Smith right now.
Well, it's just like, again, like I said, nobody can replace Robin Williams. So it's like whoever gets in that role is going to have to prove themselves.
It's like, again, they were initially looking at Kevin Hart for this role.
Yeah, and that's
I think Kevin Hart could be funny. Oh, sorry, Andrew. I was just gonna say, I think Kevin Hart could be funny, but he cannot be the genie. He has a little bit too of a kind of, I'd hate to say Chris Tucker voice, but he kind of has a little bit more of that high-pitched voice.
What? I could see him almost as Iago.
You know what? That could work.
Kevin Hart as Iago.
I just thought of a great one. I don't know why, but for some reason I keep going to, whenever I hear Kevin Hart, all I can think of is Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle as the genie.
my personal pick would have been Dwayne Johnson, who was just in Moana. So, and he's also going to be in Jungle Cruise, right?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
So, I mean, he's in the Disney family. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go to him for it.
Maybe he was too expensive.
Or scheduling.
Or scheduling, but also with Will Smith, I feel like, Will Smith is a movie star for sure, but he's not nearly as big as he used to be.
No, dude, that's one of my biggest things with this is like this casting would have made more sense years ago.
But again, I think what Will Smith is, it'll be a bit different from Robin Williams, which is fine. Because if you're just trying to be Robin Williams, then you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail, and it's gonna bring more attention to the fact that Robin Williams is just not in this. I mean, the idea. Yeah. I mean, like in the perfect world, it would be like a Jon Favreau Lion King situation where you just recast an iconic actor as that same iconic character. But unfortunately, Mr. Williams is no longer with us, so we can't do that. Yeah. But what we can do is cast relatively unknown directors for Captain Marvel. I've never heard of these people. Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck are reported to helm the Captain Marvel movie. Gifford, you're the MCU guy. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Okay, well, I've only seen one of their movies. It's kind of a funny story with Zach Galifianakis, and I actually really enjoyed that movie. Mm-hmm. The thing with this that strikes me is, Marvel's continuing that tradition of getting smaller, lesser-known directors that are maybe up and coming.
Right.
Their movies they've done like Mississippi Grind, they've done Half Nelson, which are character study movies. And that's interesting to me because clearly, Carol Danvers, they must have a pretty good idea of what they want to do with her as a character. What's interesting is they've been in talks for some Marvel movies in the past. Like, I remember James Gunn. Yeah, I remember James Gunn beat them out for Guardians.
Huh.
Yeah, so, they've been on Marvel's radar for a while. I think it's actually a really smart decision to get them for it. Obviously, the meetings went well. Yeah, honestly, with Captain Marvel, I'm just hoping for the best. And, with this pick, I have no problems with it. I think that this can only work out well.
Not really. I don't know these directors very well. I'm not really into the indie crowd. Look at the Russo brothers. Who would have thought two directors of comedy films would have made two of arguably some of the greatest action films of the 2010s, with Captain America Winter Soldier and Civil War. And now they're going to make Avengers 3. So, in my opinion, I think Marvel knows what they're doing when they get when they get people like this. Scott Derrickson before, Doctor Strange, he did Sinister, horror movie. And then, of course, James Gunn, he was into horror before then. I mean, even going all the way back, I know this isn't a Marvel movie, but look at Peter Jackson. Before Lord of the Rings and King Kong, he did a lot of really crazy horror films. Right. So I feel like some people, they like to take risks with their directors. Obviously, it can backfire, as we've seen with Gareth Edwards and Godzilla. But, if you have a director with a certain style that you like, you feel like they can do something really interesting with characters that fans really like to see, but the general audience might not even know that much about. I mean, people think, oh, her name's Captain Marvel, like Marvel Studios. That's probably it.
Yeah.
We're getting 3 Fox superhero movies in 2018.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing.
So, Josh Boone's New Mutants is going to be opening in theaters April 13th, 2018. We're going to get Deadpool 2 June 1st, 2018, and then X-Men Dark Phoenix on November 2nd, 2018. And I want to point out the Dark Phoenix one first. That's a strange date for an X-Men movie. Usually with the X-Men franchise, like the first X-Men came out in July, but a lot of them have come out in May.
It looks like they're reserving, the summer for New Mutants and Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
And then they're going to cap off, their X-Men movies with Dark Phoenix. I actually think it could be a smart move, though, to put it, in November and December.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, New Mutants, I think it's about time that they've announced a release date for that, because that's been in the works forever.
We love Deadpool 1, and then we're getting Deadpool 2, so I don't think there's much to talk about with that, except cool, Josh Brolin's in it now.
Yeah.
But with Dark Phoenix, I'm like, do they really have are they already filming Dark Phoenix?
Well, what I thought was interesting when I saw this news is it just me, or does it feel like they don't have a lot in place for it, and it feels like they're suddenly just kind of going full steam ahead with it, with a release date? Like, maybe they've been secretly having Simon Kinberg writing drafts, maybe. And they have the cast lined up, secretly, but we haven't heard anything. really like since Apocalypse
Yeah,
was released.
I could see them being able to pull it off. It's just amazing how little we've heard. We've only heard, like, before they were calling it X-Men Supernova.
Yeah.
They've heard it like tossed and turned around. We're going to do the next thing is like Dark Phoenix or whatever, and now we're getting. It feels more concrete.
It's just official.
It's more concrete now. But speaking of release dates for more Fox movies, the Avatar sequels. I'm not excited for the Avatar sequels. We got one coming out in 2020, 2021, 2024, and 2025. I think that's all I really need to say about that.
Jesus
Looking forward
Christ.
to Avatar Land in Disney coming out this year. Gonna probably try to check it out at some point. But
someone
yeah.
please end my
Okay.
life.
Okay, here's my thing with them announcing Avatar sequel release dates.
Yeah.
Can we just get the second movie first
Please.
before they start announcing release dates for the sequels? Because, like, here's the thing. I would be totally fine with it if they had some kind of idea of when they want to release the sequels, right? They don't have to announce all four, though, to us.
guys, just to recap. Wait, 2009, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Seriously, in 2 years, this movie's going to be 10 years old. 10 years old! Now we're getting a goddamn sequel.
I would love to know Disney's reactions whenever James Cameron decides to push his movies back, because Avatar Land is going to hurt. It's really going to be like, desperate to find new things to incorporate into their, attractions.
But you know what, though? I feel like Avatar Land will actually benefit the sequels.
It will.
Because
it will.
It's like, because I've seen the pictures from Avatar Land that they've done. Man, that's the hell of a construction project that they did there.
Yeah.
There is one particularly interesting thing that I find is, what is it, Joey? 2020, 2021, and
2024, 2025.
I think it's interesting they're going to take a break in between, what is it, Avatar 3 and 4?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, okay, if they're going to break it up, then maybe there's like a specific, 3-arc story that James Cameron has in mind. Mm-hmm. And maybe like 4 and 5 would be more like, they're Na'vi children or something.
James Cameron.
The next generation.
I feel like James Cameron really is a modern day Renaissance painter, because it's just like, he completes one quote unquote masterpiece. And then then people are like, oh great, make the sequel. He's like, I'll get to it eventually. 10 years later, 20 years later. All right. Oh, and I'm dead.
2022 and 2023 is James Cameron like teasing everybody, thinking everybody cares.
He's gonna keep leading people on until his death, and everybody's just gonna be like, God damn it, he got us.
So let's go on to King Kong. There's going to be a female-led King Kong live-action TV series approved by the Marion C. Cooper estate, based on DeVito Artworks' Skull Island book. Feehan, have you ever read the Joe DeVito's Skull Island book?
I don't think I did. I think I've seen it in your house like once or twice.
I always loved the artwork that he did for that.
Is it just artwork, or is it a story? I can't remember.
It was a story. And it kind of it actually goes like through like Carl Denham's kid, I think.
Yeah. Wasn't that the original plot of Kong Skull Island? Wasn't that the original idea of it?
Or they were thinking about it, but there's the production history of Kong Skull Island is so confusing, because at one point it was supposed to be Universal, then it got to Warner Brothers, and then there was a lawsuit. I think because I think Joe DeVito might have sued at some point. Don't quote me on this, because
no problem.
He had a Skull Island book, and he was planning on doing some. I don't know.
Joey, one thing I'm noticing is that I feel like they're going to be running out of ways to say King Kong and Skull Island in the same thing, because there's Kong Skull Island, and then there's the comic book series that's coming out right now. I read the first issue called Skull Island: Birth of Kong, and then there's Kong of Skull Island, and then there's the ride Skull Island: Reign of Kong. It just keeps going and going and going. I feel like they're going to run out of things. They're going to go Skull Island Kong, and then King of Skull Island.
But it'll have a female lead and a multicultural cast witnessing the wonders and horrors of Skull Island and its origins.
So it's based on the 30s version, right?
Yeah. So I also like to point out that one of the producers from Trolls is getting involved in this. I just want to point that
What?
out there.
We're talking about the DreamWorks movie, right?
Yes.
Not the Troll 2 or
Yeah.
Troll.
All right. Well,
I mean, yeah.
Trolls is pretty good, from what I've heard. It actually surprised people with how decent it actually was. So maybe that producer would actually be a fine fit for Kong.
Right. I mean, for me, it could work. I feel like, just as a clever segue here, I feel like that's like the second most unlikely thing I've ever seen be adapted into a television series. The other one being, all right, we're going to be moving on to teasers. We're going to be moving on to Krypton, the Superman prequel that everybody wanted.
I will say this. The Kong TV series better have as good a production design as Krypton.
Yeah, you know what? That's the one thing that people have been saying is that the production design of Krypton looks pretty good, and I can agree.
It looks very Man of Steel Krypton influenced, which is a good idea because Krypton is one of the few things people can generally agree on was pretty good in Man of Steel.
And given that this is the same channel that made Dino Croc and Sharktopus, I mean, you could expect some great stuff from them.
Sci-fi has come a long way, Feehan.
They come a long way from Mansquito.
Yes.
It's funny. It reminds me of like Sci-Fi. Like long ago, they were going to make a TV miniseries based on John Carpenter's The Thing, which it's actually really interesting. The backstory behind it, what the plot of the show was going to be. It was supposed to be like in the New Mexico desert.
Yeah,
like in this really isolated town. A town of like 300 people. I don't know. Huh. It would have been cool, but they canceled because of all the budgetary reasons. So obviously something's changed.
The thing with Krypton, the trailer, I don't know. Like, I want to see more of it. So far, I'm kind of interested, mainly because the show is set millions of years before Krypton blows up. So there's a lot of like history that they can cover. Where it's not like they're just gonna die at the end of like season 1 or like towards the end of the series. Conceivably, it could be set way before Krypton blows up. So there's a lot of mythology that they can cover and write. That could be interesting because it's about Superman's grandfather. Seg-El.
I don't have any thoughts on Krypton.
Joey, what are your thoughts?
Nothing. It exists. It's a thing that I probably won't watch.
See, to me, it's just I feel like it's not gonna last.
Yeah, I mean, I really just don't have much to say
about
it.
I mean, it's gonna exist. I mean, it's just like Gotham. It's like this is a story that nobody ever asked for and nobody really wants to see. Maybe in a comic miniseries, maybe that could work. But I really don't need the entire television series of them going, look, this is the thing that's going to happen in the Superman universe. They're probably going to have, here's this television version of Brainiac. Here's this television version of General Zod and, Mongol and Mr. Mxyzptlk, that kind of stuff. Another show that will also exist not on the Sci-Fi Channel, but instead Freeform, what used to be ABC Family, but they called Freeform, which sounds like a religious channel to me. It always will sound like that. Is going to be Cloak and Dagger, which is, of course, based on the two Marvel comic book characters. I don't really know that much about Cloak and Dagger. Obviously, I've seen them in television. Ultimate Spider-Man, the cartoon, they were in there.
Right.
Joey, what do you think? Have you watched the trailer?
No, I haven't, and I just don't care about Marvel TV, really, outside of the Netflix stuff.
Yep.
Gifford? I watched the trailer, and I'm not that familiar with Cloak and Dagger either. They're very obscure. A lot of Marvel fans, I don't feel like know too much about them because really, like the characters of Cloak and Dagger are kind of cool, but there's not a whole lot to them. They're star-crossed lovers, and I actually like the trailer. I think it has this hard edge feel to it that I kind of dig. You got to remember it's on Freeform, so it's aimed at teens, which
it just
for that reason, for what this trailer is marketing, I think it did a pretty good job. It got me interested. I was curious to see how it would fit into the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it really just looks like any other Freeform show. If you literally just splice in a couple other parts from different Freeform shows, looks pretty much the exact same. I mean, Cloak has one of the coolest designs I think Marvel's ever made. There's just this big robe he has, And to see it just it's just like a little bit of a robe. It's like, oh, come on. It's like one of the coolest designs they've had for a hero.
Yeah.
And obviously it neutered for television on a television budget. It's gonna look pretty lame.
Yeah, well, you watched the trailer, right? You saw it.
I did watch the trailer.
Well, when it shows the shot, where it shows like, oh, her light powers and then Cloak's dark power. I'm like, that looks like something from an original sci-fi movie.
You know what? The prop they have for her dagger looks so bad. Like it literally looks like something you could pick up from Spencer's. It's just literally just a clear crystal with a light in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost makes me wish for CG. It's something that will exist.
It will exist, and I think it has potential. I think it could surprise us, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
All right, so I guess we should move on to something a little bit more positive, which is that Hulu is going to be releasing a documentary. I believe it's May 6th. It will be coming out. It is called Batman and Bill, and basically it's going to be basically a documentary that will document, show basically Batman's original creator, other original creator, Bill Finger, who was never given credit on Batman. It was given sole credit to Bob Kane because that was in the contract. And Bill rarely ever got credit for the role until very, very recently, after much fan requests and all that kind of stuff. So it's basically a documentary talking about Bill Finger and his contributions to Batman, Robin, the Batcave, Joker, Penguin, various things. And they have interviews with Kevin Smith in the trailer. It looks like a good documentary. I'm really interested to watch it. I like a good documentary, especially if it involves superhero stuff. Joey, what do you think?
I didn't see the trailer, but I have heard of this documentary in the works. It's great to see that Bill Finger is finally getting the credit he so rightfully deserves.
Yeah.
Because it is unfortunate that some of these creators do get shafted. And
it is.
I feel like that's also why we don't see too many new comic characters in things, because I feel like the comic companies don't feel like dealing with the various complications having a new set of characters. Have contracts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you could see this everywhere, from everything from animation to film, comic books. I mean, you could see a lot of stories of creators getting screwed out of their projects. Movie Bob had a video about Steve Gerber, who was the guy who wrote Howard the Duck, and how Marvel basically screwed him out of a lot of stuff. Yeah. They wanted him to come back with projects. They, tricked him and did a lot of really annoying stuff. I'm trying to think of another case. I think I remember another case similar to that. We know how Marvel treated Jack Kirby was, pretty pitiful. That's why he left and went to DC.
And then we have Siegel and Schuster.
Of course, you can't forget about Siegel and Schuster.
No, yeah.
But it was the thing about it was that was just the time. All right, Andrew just got hit by a car again, or rather a truck. But
I'm still here, guys.
Yeah, that was just the time. Comic books weren't the major pop culture success they are today. So back then, a lot of companies they had ghost writers, which were, I know sounds cool, but literally all it meant was they were writers. They wrote the comics or they drew stuff. They never got credit for it.
They got paid for the job that they were assigned to do and moved on.
Yep, which sounds like a good idea until you need to fill out a resume, and then you realize, oh wait, I can't. They didn't give me credit for this, so I can't write.
Not only that, but you lose out on royalties on the characters. I mean, and look at Superman. I mean, Superman, the only other symbol that's probably as recognizable, if not more so, than the Superman shield is the Jesus Christ's cross. I mean,
of course,
these things are so universal.
It reminds me of sorry, Andrew. It reminds me of I forget who the guy's name is, but you remember, Joey, the guy who drew Incredible Hulk 181, the one that featured Wolverine. He got credit for writing that one issue, and that was it, despite the fact Wolverine went on to become an incredibly popular character.
Was that Len Wein?
I think it was. I can't remember for certain.
Forget.
Yeah, but it's just that kind of thing. You never expect a character. I mean, that was the problem with Image Comics in the '90s. They made all their characters, and they said, "Oh, this character is going to be the new guy," and like they use words like the next generation of hero and stuff like that to describe their heroes. And now nobody cares about Spawn. Nobody cares about Spawn or Youngblood or the various other Image characters.
On the subject of Bill Finger and Batman, see, like a lot of creators sometimes don't get their due credit with certain characters, and I've always felt, particularly for Bill Finger, just because of how, huge Batman is in pop culture.
Of course.
And it's like he just missed out on that. And then especially when you see like the original drawing that, Bob Kane did.
Yeah.
That couldn't be farther from what, Batman became known as.
Yeah, it reminds me of, there was a great picture, and it's like Bob Kane and Bill Finger sitting in a room, and they show Bob Kane's, like, he's thinking of that image of, like, what he thought Batman, and then they show Bill Finger, and he has, like, this huge dream of, like, Gotham City and the Bat Signal and the Batmobile and all that. But it is good that he's gonna be getting credit. It's sadly the tragedy of great artists, especially when it comes to, great literature. Think about it. F. Scott Fitzgerald, when he wrote Great Gatsby, it was a modest hit, but it only after his death did it become called the Great American Novel. It's just the sad tragedy of writers, writers and illustrators. You don't often see your great success until after you're dead.
Yeah, it sucks. But you know what really doesn't suck?
What doesn't suck?
That Last Jedi trailer.
Oh yeah, that thing that we teased at in our last Inside the Man Cave, and you guys kept on going back and forth. Are we going to do it? Are we going to do a video? Are we not going to do a video? Now let's do a video. So Andrew, what are your thoughts on Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
Dude, I couldn't have been happier with it. Because the thing with the trailer is it shows just enough to get you excited without giving away too much, and it's very, cryptic. It's very overdramatic, and it got me excited, to see where this goes. Like, I loved some of the shots in the trailer, like Rey training with the lightsaber, and you just see Luke standing over, like, watching. I'm like, dude, that's such a badass shot. And then, I like seeing, like, Finn again and Poe, and it really is a teaser, but, it really got me excited to see those characters again, and also to hear Luke finally.
Yes.
You hear Luke, and and it's very cryptic at the end of the trailer when, of course, Luke's line, "The Jedi must end."
I'm just like, the first thing I noticed is, like, did you guys notice when Finn was, on that slab? Do you think he might be going through a droid process? Might become a little bit of a droid, at least have some robot parts on him. I mean, just that chess piece he has kind of reminds me of something like kind of a sleeker stormtrooper, Darth Vader kind of thing.
Right.
I interpreted that as just, Finn probably wakes up in that scene after, being worked on.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting, it would be interesting to have, like, oh, sorry, Andrew, I was just thinking, like, it would be interesting having, like, a superhuman, like, kind of like a kind of like a General Grievous type character. Like on the side of good. That would be interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But the other, sorry, Joey, one more thing about the trailer.
Sure.
Don't. Guys, Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, whoever's in charge, if you kill off Luke Skywalker, I'm burning down the Skywalker Ranch. If you kill Luke Skywalker, turn him to the dark side, or do anything, I will burn down the Skywalker Ranch.
I mean, really, Feehan, you'd just be screwing over George Lucas, who doesn't own Star Wars anymore.
Oh,
you
right.
Just burn down Walt Disney Studios.
I'll burn down Star Wars Land. I'm sorry, Joey, but it has to be done.
You know what? I'm just no. I'm going to cut in and say I don't think Disney is going to do that to their Star Wars brand. That is, they might do a controversial thing like kill off Han in Force Awakens or something, but they would never go so far as to say Luke is going to the dark side. No.
I think what they might do with Luke is kind of have him be like a gray Jedi, where if he does something that could be considered something a Sith would do, he'd be doing it for the collective good.
The greater good.
I think he would be like like how they talk about like Mace Windu, how Mace Windu sort of has like a semi-mastery of the dark side.
Oh yeah, that's one of the coolest parts of Mace Windu is he could like tap into the dark side.
Right.
Like,
and that's the thing with Luke. I feel like they'll have him tap into the dark side if it means doing what's good for the, overall picture.
Because
also,
yeah. Right.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say it also reminds me of Garen Malik from the Star Wars Force Unleashed series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a Sith who became a good guy, but he still was able to use Force lightning and all that.
Right.
Joey, sorry.
My thing with I think the most interesting thing with the trailer is, of course, the last line, obviously. And I think what's also interesting is like you see like the shot of like Luke. I presume a hooded figure would be Luke and R2-D2 looking at like a burning thing. In the distance. So
presumably that's probably his, Jedi temple.
Do you think do you think that Jedi temple was? Do you think that was the thing that was referenced in The Force Awakens in that one shot when Rey had her vision? And
it could be
the future. That's ultimately that happening now. Or
I'm thinking that in the flashback it's going to reveal maybe it was like. One or two things I feel like are going to happen. Either in that flashback, it is the Knights of Ren that are behind that, and Ben Solo, and Luke is all distraught because now his nephew has turned to the dark side, or it is Phasma, and the stormtroopers have finally found where Luke Skywalker was in hiding.
Right.
Which could be interesting because then you actually have some history between Phasma and Luke. And to me, adding some backstory to Phasma is not a bad thing at this point.
Right.
Yep.
And she's getting her own comic thing and her own book, isn't it?
Really?
Yep.
Because why not? Marvel's connected to Star Wars, so why not?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
I don't think there's much else to really say about this trailer except it tells us that The Last Jedi is happening. That last line is intriguing.
It's Star Wars, so everyone will go see it.
Mm-hmm. And especially, I think my favorite thing about the trailer is how distinct it feels from Force Awakens. Like, you really actually feel like they are going to take this in a different direction.
It feels like a different director is helming it.
It feels like they're going to say, once again, this is our Empire Strikes Back, just like every other sequel nowadays.
Yeah, but it's hard to avoid, though, which is the sad thing. But what are you going to do?
What you going to do?
So, yeah, that was the Last Jedi trailer. Now, Feehan, you've been watching MST3K.
Yes, I have.
Series. What do you think of that so far?
I like it. I like it a lot. I think the cast is great. Jonah Ray's really good. I think Felicia Day and Patton Oswalt are good as the Mads. I'm digging the production style. I've only seen about 2.5 episodes so far. Because I mean, keep in mind, these are like an hour and a half to 2 hours long. Yeah,
because they're movies, literally.
Yeah, because they're movies. But seriously, the first episode, Reptilicus, is perfect. It's really funny, and I thought I was laughing a lot. It's really cheesy. It's a great cheesy kind of movie. It's really enjoyable. But I like it. It's obviously, it's one of those series you could skip an episode and really nothing would happen.
Right.
I mean, that was the one thing I was thinking was like, I feel like I was worried that I was thinking there may be like some plot thread going between each of the episodes, but really not. I mean, they do callbacks to the earlier episodes of the series, but that's about it. In fact, I think the second episode of the series is actually like the 200th episode of MST3K, so it's a little weird.
That's interesting.
That is. But bottom line, it's great. You should really check it out. It's really funny. The only negative that many people are talking about, which is noticeable, is that the replacements for Tom Servo is a little odd.
Okay.
And the reason is that the three actors in the original series, Joel or Mike, Crow, who was played by Bill Corbett, and Tom Servo, who was played by Kevin Murphy, they all had different voices. Like Joel and Mike, they were kind of normal sounding, and then Tom Servo was more of a deeper voice, and then Crow was more of a like higher pitched voice. But all the actors in this series, they sound very similar. So unless you're looking at the screen and seeing the actors in front of the screen, you really can't tell who's talking.
Right.
But the thing about it also is that they add a little bit of extra stuff. Like sometimes, like one of the other robots, Gypsy, will come down and she'll make a joke. Sometimes Tom Servo will fly around the screen and do something. There's actually a funny bit in Avalanche where like they basically show that they're still PG-13, so they like Tom Servo and Crow are like flying these little drones around and they cover up the breasts of this one actress,
right?
Because there's just a gratuitous nude scene in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing is like the dialogue in this, like the jokes are like fast paced. It's like joke, 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 joke. There's almost never breathing room in some scenes because they just go from one joke to another joke to another joke, and it's okay because obviously it's scripted. Right. It's not like a live show where like they obviously have to take their time so that they don't flub their lines. But it's still a great show. I mean, you could watch it. There's nothing else to watch on Netflix, right? Right.
I got to finish BoJack Horseman season 3.
So right.
I watched some of the Star Crash episode, and what I love about it is it still has the charm of the original series. It feels like the same show, yet it is different. And I think that's really cool. I mean, honestly, like I always love riffing on, anything, like any movie. So, I mean, it's fun. It just feels like you're watching some friends goof on something.
Yeah, we have a good time when we riff on movies, right, guys? Yeah.
Yes,
of course.
But yeah, I really like the show. Another show I did watch that just came out yesterday, coincidentally enough, today's Earth Day. Bill Nye the Science Guy is returning on Netflix to a new series called Bill Nye Saves the World. Now, you guys grew up with Bill Nye the Science Guy, right?
Yes.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I work at a school, guys, and
they still show Bill Nye.
They still show Bill Nye.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's one of the things, like, if I could have, like, there are so many things I want on Blu-ray, that's one of them. Just like a big Bill Nye collection on Blu-ray.
Bill Nye actually made me want to know more about science. He actually made it fun and, interesting for a lot of kids. So
now he has this new series, which he says at the beginning, he says, you might know me from the Science Guy show. He says, but this isn't a kid's show. This is a show for adults. But that doesn't mean, obviously, there's cursing and swearing or anything like that. Right. It just means this is a show that's going to tackle more adult subjects like climate control and, climate change and, placebos and the AI, like artificial intelligence, which is the 3 episodes I watched. They're only 30 minutes long, so you can really breeze through the show if you really want to. Basically, it's broken up into a lot of segments. There are, of course, the science bits where Bill Nye does, science, typical science. So stuff you see in a science class. So, he'd do stuff on, like climate control, like showing us the greenhouse effect and stuff like that. There are points where, like, he sends correspondents around the world to show different parts of science around the world, which is freaking amazing. Some of the stuff that's going on in the world, like they show Venice, where they're currently doing like this $5 billion project to like create these huge pillars that rise out of the ocean to basically block seawater, so to prevent flooding.
Right.
And there's another part where they show like an AI like project in, I think, Austria, where they've created an algorithm to make it so this robot can basically paint flawlessly a recreation of Rembrandt paintings. So, and that's really cool. But then they have some really funny ones. Like they had this one where this girl goes to like a sound therapist, which literally consists of her sitting on a table, and this guy is shouting at her stomach.
Hey guys, some breaking news.
Oh, breaking news, everybody. Andrew?
Meetings for future Star Wars spin-offs in an episode 9 table read will happen soon. So that's cool. That's a cool update.
Anyway, back to Bill Nye. Back to Bill Nye. It's a really great series. Probably the most boring part of the show is when he has like correspondents on, like not his correspondents, like different scientists, and they basically debate about stuff. It's about as exciting as you might think. Bill Nye, bless his heart, he is an entertainer, even though obviously he is a scientist, and he tries to make it fun for the audience. But these guys literally have very little like charisma to them, and it's understandable. Another thing is that he does have guests on there. Like the first episode, he had Zach Braff on there. The second episode, he had, I forget what the guy's name is. He's like this Grammy Award-winning like songwriter. Of course, Neil deGrasse Tyson's going to show up somewhere, so that's going to be exciting. But overall, it's Bill Nye. It's basically the show is Bill Nye the Science Guy live.
Okay.
Like Reminds me of like recently Nickelodeon had a Double Dare like a Double Dare anniversary. If you guys ever watched Double Dare, they did it on Nick at Night. So like, and the coolest thing about it was they didn't do it with kids. They did it with like millennials who watched the show as kids.
Right.
So it was actually pretty cool seeing people who probably grew up with the show like getting to watch it for real. And you feel like a lot of these celebrities like loved Bill Nye as kids. So they're of course they jump at the chance to be with Bill Nye on Netflix.
Sure.
But yeah, so I'm excited. Bill Nye is great. MST3K is great. Netflix is doing great. Those two shows make up for Iron Fist 10 times over.
Everything is awesome, right, Feehan?
Yes, it is. Everything is awesome. And then another thing I had on here, I completely forgot I put it on here, is that Voodoo Vince, a classic game from my childhood, got a remaster the other day. You guys never played Voodoo Vince. Nope. I'm guessing.
Nope.
Yep. So I'm just gonna say Voodoo Vince was an amazing game when I was a kid. It was an Xbox exclusive, and basically it was basically what it sounded like. It starred a voodoo doll who was brought to life by a bunch of thugs, like kidnap his master and steal like this stuff called zombie dust that basically turns the whole the world of New Orleans into this creepy, like twisted reality, kind of like Tim Burton designed it.
Right.
You know. So there are monsters everywhere, and inanimate objects have life, and there's all these great physics puzzles and stuff like that. It's basically a fun game. The biggest element of it is like obviously Vince is a voodoo doll, so like he gains voodoo icons that like let him, kill himself in multiple ways to hurt other monsters. So like a beehive will fall on his head, or an anvil will fall on his head. He'll, the crazy one is like he'll drink a bunch of laxative and go into a toilet and die, I guess.
Right.
But there are some great physics puzzles. One of my favorites is that, all right, so let me set up the level. So Vince has to get into a museum, which is being guarded by a skeleton jazz player. Okay, follow me?
Right.
So in order to get into the museum, the jazz player says that you have to jam with him. So you have to get a trumpet, or a trumpet or a saxophone or whatever. And you find one in a pawn shop, but it's closed. So what do? Obviously, you climb to the clock tower and change the time by running around the clock. So you get into the pawn shop, but they will kick you out because you don't have any money. But we could change the time again and go to, a costume shop and get the money to get the saxophone. But you play terribly, so you have to change the time again to get saxophone lessons. It's a crazy physics puzzle, and it's amazing. But needless to say, it's fun. I beat the game in like less than like 2 or 3 hours, so it really goes to show how quickly the game is. It's only $15, so it was fun. It was fun for what it is, obviously. I know you guys really are completely quiet about this, and I thank you so much for letting me go off.
Yes.
So I guess we could do our wrap up.
Yeah, so this was another episode of Inside the Man Cave. We try to have these up. We're going to try to have these up at least once a week, or as much as we can. But in the meantime, there are other Movie Squad videos you can definitely check out. I'm going to record another Samurai Jack discussion video for, it should be up tomorrow or on Sunday, whenever I get this video up. And have a Pirates of the Caribbean movie retrospective already recorded. I just got to edit that down. We have a ton of other, lots of other content on our Movie Squad channel.
I'm very excited. Finally, one last thing, obviously be sure to like and subscribe to the Movie Squad. Be sure to hit that little bell by the subscription notice so that you can get notified every time we post something. Anytime we post a new video, you guys will know about it. One more thing, I just want to give a shout out to our good friend Riley Johnson, who creates the amazing thumbnails that you guys see in our videos. And he's quick, he's fast, he can do it in a couple minutes. He's a great guy. I guess you could go check him out on Facebook, maybe.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of Facebook pages.
Riley does have a social media page. If you want to just on Facebook look up Riley Johnson, you should find his page. It has like 20,000 likes.
That's pretty cool.
Fans. Yeah.
He's a popular guy. So yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to him.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, cool. Joey, you want to give the final wrap?
All right, that was another show. If you liked it, I don't know. Bye.
So long.
Farewell.
Auf Wiedersehen.